Howdy folks, TJ here. Have some friends helping me do a little bit of a video cast here. I like Halloween, I like all the holidays, and I thought it'd be fun to videotape it in a different part of my house. Wife and I have been decorating for Halloween, even though we don't get trick-or-treaters out here in the sticks. If we did, I'd probably want to have a gun ready. We still enjoy the holidays, don't have any kids, but we kind of enjoy being kids ourselves a little bit and thought it'd be fun to do the video in this room. So anyway, here's Mr. Bones, and got a little crow down here, and throughout the house we have all sorts of Halloween decorations. And sticking with a little bit of a Halloween theme, recently all of our power went out here in California. I live in Northern California. I don't know if you all follow, but in California it's a big tinderbox. Most of the states on the west side of the United States burning all the time, lots of fires. And out here in California, PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, run the show in terms of the power. So for decades, instead of putting money, in my opinion, into the infrastructure and making sure all the trees are trimmed well away, I think they probably shirked their duties a little bit. And yeah, there's been a lot of fires. And some of them, one of them recently, the Paradise Fire up in Northern California, which wiped out a whole city, ended up being a PG&E, I believe, pole that went out. Some trees or something fell on it, and pretty huge fire. The whole city was pretty much lost. So in California, their new policy is that if a windstorm that's going to be coming that has a lot of dry air behind it, they're going to wipe out and turn off the power on tons of people. So this last week, tons of counties, up to about 800,000 homes, they alerted us could be without power. So our power did go out for not super bad, 48 hours. But in this day and age, when you have refrigerators and tons of food in your freezer, having no power for an extended period of time can make food spoil and other stuff happens. Anyway, we just came out of a power outage, which is a little spooky in itself. We were well prepared and everything went well. I'm a camping type of person, so we had plenty of ice boxes and all that to go. But anyway, during that time, there was 48 hours of no electricity, which means no computers, no TVs, none of that stuff. So I enjoyed some reading. So I've been getting into Sinclair, as you all know, and I've got some cool magazines. ZX Monthly, Sinclair User, and I've got tons of QL Worlds. So I enjoyed some reading over this little bit of a power outage situation, and came across some fun stuff, and I thought I'd just kind of share it, especially for those in the United States. Sinclair really never, in my opinion, did big, like Apples and Ataris and Commodores. But, in these UK periodicals, it had some information. So I came across, this is the July 1986 issue. And as you know, right before that, or around that time, is when Sinclair sold to Amstrad. So, lots of interesting things were starting to happen around then. And anyway, there's this series of articles in most of these magazines, and this one is called Across the Pond. And that means United States. What's going on with Sinclair in the United States? So I just enjoyed some reading. And what I found interesting is that around this time, the QL was just starting to kind of be distributed in a little bit different fashion, kind of just getting going. And then all of a sudden, now the unknown of Amstrad, what are they going to do to the QL? And as we know, pretty much nothing after that. So it was kind of an interesting read I got to enjoy during that time. And in this article, Across the Pond, they talk about the micro fair in the United States, where George and Carol Witham are boarding an airplane to go to London to a micro fair, and they're coming back with a lot of excitement for the QL in the United States and all these ideas that they had. And anyway, it was just kind of interesting, Yeah, we're across the pond, and it was a lot smaller pond over here in terms of the Sinclair, but it's kind of cool to read something that had a little focus on the United States. Anyway, this was a ZX Monthly, and I enjoyed reading that article during this power outage. And then I grabbed this Sinclair User, and what attracted me right away, I just kind of reached in my pot. I've only got a handful of these, but exclusive interview, Sir Clive, why I sold out. kind of interesting again. You know, all this stuff's kind of in hindsight, I guess you can kind of say, but it was just kind of, you know, fun traveling back in time. And then there's this big, you know, couple of page article. And I don't know if this is going to come in very well, but you get the idea of it. And anyway, he goes into talking about stuff. And what kind of caught me funny was one of the truth was there was nothing you could do on the 68,000 that you couldn't on the Z80. Sure, it was a bit faster in principle, but it wasn't like that in practice. So I kind of find that interesting because my immediate thought, and the little bit I've been following Sinclair, is that he was really hype on the QL. And in this, it kind of gives a little bit of a different twist. And let me see if I can find it here. I couldn't see the point of that because it seemed to me you were paying a lot of money for a chip, and I couldn't see what you were going to be able to do on it that you couldn't already do on the Z80. And then he talks about Nigel Searle, about he was the one that kind of more pushed the QL than he did, but he was kind of out of the day-to-day operations at that time, and that's what they decided on. So again, all interesting stuff, and this was an interview that they did with him, and all this time I kind of thought he was really kind of like with the C5, he was the pusher of it. In this case, he's saying he kind of wasn't with the QL, and that he was really thinking the Z80 had more life to it, I guess, and that's where he would have preferred to push. Anyway, kind of found that interesting. So anyway, that's kind of my little bit I wanted to talk about. These magazines, I love reading old magazines, and you can pretty much download the PDFs of all this stuff these days. I like having hard copy. They're kind of fun to thumb through. Various advertisements in it really are kind of funny, and I enjoy that aspect of it. But anyway, just two interesting findings that, hey, in the United States, even though Sinclair wasn't huge over here, some of the magazines did say, hey, what's going on across the pond, which is kind of cool. And then, reading back in history, the 86 magazines are basically talking about, heck, Sinclair sold out. What are we going to do? And now we kind of know what happened later on. And in my opinion, Amstrad actually kicked a bit of life, many extra years out of Sinclair that even Sinclair himself said that's not their cup of tea, I guess. He was more interested in inventing new things and going on to the next thing, and then other people can kind of deal with the aftermath of it. So maybe that was just his thing. He liked to invent things and then move on, where some other people like to get as much out of those older things as you possibly could. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's my little bit of a take on it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully you enjoy all the Halloween stuff. I'm going to have some more Halloween goodies throughout the month. My Game of the Week, I think the next one I'm going to do is Cauldron. That was also in one of the magazines. I saw an advertisement for Cauldron 2, and I thought, okay, Game of the Week, since it's all going to be about Halloween this month, maybe that's a good game to choose. So I'm going to choose Cauldron next. And also, I've been doing little pictures on Facebook, and I did a little picture of him dressed in this shirt with a little sign that said, Next, or Spectrum Next, Kickstarter, or Bust. Because he wants a next, and I want a next, and probably many of you do. So anyway, thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. See ya!